I'm Kelly Jennings, CEO of Powerband Solutions. Powerband is a cloud-based provider of auction, inventory, and finance solutions that make buying, selling, and financing vehicles more efficient. Powerband Solutions trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol PBX and on the OTCQB symbol PWWPF and on Frankfurt symbol 1ZV. For more information, please visit us at powerbandsolutions.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks, his website, rickackerman.com. Welcome back to the show, Rick.
Always a pleasure to join you, Jim.
Rick, are you surprised that Boeing stocks have rebounded as much as they have after those two deadly accidents?
Yes, I am. It came down really hard on March 11th, the day of that crash, the second crash in 5 months for that particular aircraft, 737 MAX. The MAX means that they were putting as much engine as they could on the old 737 frame, just to stay competitive with Airbus. And, if you followed the spin that the companies put on this problem, you'd think it was just a computer glitch. But the bigger problem is that these larger, more fuel-efficient engines are not exactly aerodynamic perfection. And at one time, Boeing itself had thought about scrapping the 737 MAX and simply building another aircraft to compete with Airbus. So even if the company continues to spin the thing brilliantly, they had a story out a week or so ago about how Boeing was going to go out to the world, to all its sovereign buyers of aircraft, and enlist them in the process by which Boeing hopes to correct the problem. So, in a public relations sense, the company's doing everything it can to spin the thing in a positive way. But it's really going up against some serious facts.
Before we went on air, you were mentioning something about an investigative story into the 737 MAX?
Yeah, VOX.com did a really good investigative piece that lays out the whole Boeing problem. And I've had it corroborated by, for one, someone I know who flew for quite a number of years for United, flew Boeing. And the 737 MAX was not his favorite plane either. But the VOX.com, it is a fairly lengthy investigative piece, but it really does cover the subject well.
Mm-hmm. So basically they designed an unbalanced airplane and they hope a computer can solve the problem. Would a fly-by-wire system help? Because I know the F-117 stealth fighter lost part of its tail, but the fly-by-wire system was so efficient the pilot didn't know until the tower told him. It continued to fly. Would that be the proper solution, or would you just have to rip the airplane down to the bare bones and start all over again?
Well, I don't know what they're eventually going to do. They seem to be fixing the computer system, but the computer system, this particular device that keeps the supposed to prevent the plane from stalling when it gets into too steep an angle. It was essentially to compensate for the aerodynamic problems introduced by the larger engine. However, the one of the things that the VOX.com story brings out, and one of the reasons the reason that pilots weren't particularly well trained on how to use this onboard computer, was that if Boeing said any more, if they said we've got to put all the pilots through a special school, a special course to learn all about this stabilization system, they'd be as much as admitting that there's really something new in the aerodynamic properties of the jet. And of course, one of the big selling points for Airbus and Boeing when they come out with a new model is that the pilots, it's not going to require too much retraining. So that's why this onboard system, the computer kind of slipped the network there. It wasn't rolled out with the normal protocols because the company itself didn't want to admit that it was a pretty serious add-on.
Right, and apparently the pilots on the Ethiopian flight did all the right things, and the plane just kept reverted in the nose-down mode.
Right. So Boeing's out there with the story now. All the pilots are going to get all the training they need. But, you know, regardless of how well Boeing spins this thing, there's the demand side. And if you're a passenger, as some of the airlines seem to be recognizing by canceling juggling their fleet so that they can take 737 Maxes out of the loop, it just takes a little bit of subtle concern on the buyer side to really take a whack out of Boeing. So, you know, there's the passengers who are not really going out of the way to schedule flights on 737 Max. And of course, the sovereign buyers, China is still yet to weigh in on this. They have the right to cancel certain contracts, big orders for Boeing planes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of those cancellations over time, and whatever the hubris that's supporting the stock right now is going to have a rough time.
We'll have more with Rick Ackerman right after this.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the pink CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Rick Ackerman. Rick, Boeing wasn't a stock you're particularly fond of with its bounce back. What about Tesla? It's still getting loads of investment.
Tesla's amazing. You know, if you look at the long-term chart, it kind of, when the news climate is good, which is not most of the time for sure, the stock makes these giant leaps, and then it oscillates within a huge up-down range that has essentially been consolidation. It's always produced a move to a higher plateau. And so now, you know, the latest swings over the last year and a half or whatever, they've happened with an enormous amount of negative news. Everything from the regulators were going to strip Musk of his rank, you know, make him take a couple steps back from the company, and you know, there's been a lot of negative news on Model 3. The company itself has been vacillating as to, well, we're going to do away with the showrooms, and then a month later, well, maybe not so fast. And so just the way it's being run so loosey-goosey. There were other stories about Tesla repairs taking forever. And even Musk himself said, well, yeah, sometimes it just happens the way we misdesign things, that a part needed in the U.S. will get shipped to China before it gets shipped back here for some repair job. So the company has big problems with the repair, the way they're set up for repairs. And, you know, they're not particularly anchored in a business model for selling the cars, moving from showrooms to, well, we'll do it all online. And they've evidently cut things to the bone just to get Model 3 down to the promised price of, I think it was $35,000. So there's so much stuff going on. You'd like to see a little bit more stability, a little less news coming from this company, or only good news related to just one thing, increased sales. But that's not what's happening. And of course, there's so much skepticism about the company that we've got on the internet. There's this one I Hate Tesla kind of website where they've got volunteers out there flying drones to see how many unsold cars Tesla has on the lots. And Tesla comes back and said, well, those aren't unsold cars. Those are cars in a staging lot that have been sold already. But there's so much rumor and innuendo swirling around. And yet, even when the stock gets whacked, it hasn't broken down beneath the bottom of this latest accumulation zone. So I guess overall, you could say it's testimony to the enduring faith in Musk's undisputed genius and his entrepreneurial abilities.
We'll have more with Rick Ackerman right after this.
Grand Portage Resources recently completed the 2018 drill program on its 100% controlled Herbert Gold Discovery property located in the prolific Juneau Belt in southeast Alaska. Drill results are expected through late 2018. Past drill results included numerous multi-ounce gold assays on multiple veins. Grand Portage trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Rick Ackerman. The theme of today's show, hot stocks that really shouldn't, or at least not your favorites. We put in those as well, Apple and Facebook. Let's take a look at Apple first.
This is to me really crazy. It's part of the craziness of this era. We've got Apple with an announcement that it's going to shift its business model more toward their big thing, their next big thing, the big idea, the huge concept that Steve Jobs would have probably fallen asleep if it were someone else announcing at a board meeting. But Apple's big idea is to get into streaming content, to really get in there and compete against Netflix for one, but also Disney, HBO, all the other companies. Everybody wants in, and you know, and I know that there are already way too many TV shows to watch. All these premium channels, the premium networks, they're producing more than we've got time to watch. So it's very competitive. And even if it were less so, I don't think Apple could possibly squeeze the same margins out of this streaming content business as it gets from selling overpriced cell phones. So all right, so they're basically saying, we know that iPhone sales are weakening here and in our second biggest market in China, so we're going to move toward another source of revenue, and it's a lousy. Nobody should have been pleased with that announcement, and yet the powers that be goosed the stock, and they put it in this trajectory that, as bearish as I've been on the stock, ultimately I only look at my charts, and I've got a minimum 205 target on it and probably 212.77. So, and this comes off a low. The stock got sold down hard in a mini bear market there to 142 from an all-time high up at 233. So it had its bear market, and this rally that's happened goes against what I would call a negative news environment, but it hasn't stopped the stock from getting short squeezed into nosebleed territory. And Facebook, same thing. The company has an enormously profitable business, with laser-targeted advertising. Facebook is in a unique position, not like Google. Google infers who you are and what your tastes are from your searches. But Facebook gets the information directly about who you are from you. So you're putting out your likes and your thises and your that. So Facebook knows you a lot better even than Google. So that's why the very precisely targeted ads generate such huge money. But Facebook has been under the gun. Regulators all around the world, especially in Brussels, are thinking we don't like the way Facebook trashes privacy rights. So Facebook also is becoming, it's not a pariah yet, but its millennial core users they're going elsewhere. They're deserting the platform. And, I think that even with 2 billion subscribers, Facebook could become a has-been. It could become uncool overnight, and you only have to think back to America Online to appreciate how that can happen. So Facebook's big idea, just like Apple's, hey, we've got this. We're going to move in the direction of fee for service. We're going to provide small chat groups, interactive groups. We're going to do encrypted messaging and stuff like that, which cannot possibly be as profitable as their ad business. And what happens? Same thing as Apple on the announcement that they're shifting they're pivoting to another business model. The stock takes off like a bat out of hell, and it's rallied from like low 120s to close to 180, or actually 180 today, and 50% rally almost. And in both cases, taking Boeing in this too, there's simply the big boys have too big a stake to let these stocks go, and they're still buyers of it. But I think the rallies are distributive, and I'm very, very wary here about how much higher they can go.
Is another problem facing Facebook is the fact they seem to be selling their facial recognition technology to everyone, and they're using your old photos to demonstrate just how well this stuff works.
Yeah, and forget about that Google slogan about "Do no evil." We find that all these companies, when they have an opportunity to market globally, they'll be as evil as they have to make money. Google has worked hand in hand with China to try to develop a system that would wall out the rest of the world, and a second internet, essentially run by the Chinese government, poses something of a threat to the free and open internet that we now enjoy globally. So wherever these companies operate, they're doing things of, let's say, there's dubious activity on a privacy front.
Rick, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me on, Jim. It is always a pleasure.
My guest has been Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks, his website, rickackerman.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Questions for Rick or any of our other guests can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.